And I decided now, after having some time playing the maps, literally playing a tournament on the maps for DreamHack Valencia, and talking to other players, I've kind of come up more or less with an idea of which maps I think Terran should be playing, which maps I think we should be vetoing, and overall, I'll just talk about new maps. So, go ahead here. I'm on this thing called Google Jamboard, which somebody actually introduced me to, and we can basically just highlight some stuff. And I've loaded all the maps on here, so we'll go through the maps. I'll try to make it not too long, but just go ahead and talk about a good amount of stuff here. So, for starters, Waterfall, here. And I initially, when I saw this map, I actually felt like it was pretty good for a Terran, mostly because of the way the third bases here are. So the third base is pretty far out, which makes it harder, I think, for Protoss players and Zerg players to be able to defend us while, like, getting pushed this way, this tank ledge. So it's pretty interesting. I do like this map for Terran. I do think it's a bit of a clown fiesta for TVT. I feel like people would play a lot of two base openers on this map. But I would say, no matter what, taking the triangular base is always going to be the best thing to do there. Right, instead. So I would say it's always going to be these three bases with I think this as your fourth, which, to be honest, it's a bit difficult, it seems like. And actually, what I'll do here is I'll put the numbers so you guys can actually see. I probably should hit backspace there, but it's fine. So I think this will be first base, second, third, fourth, and same thing on the other side. Unless you're Mark doing the Bond Cloud build, then it's different for you. But yeah, so I think expanding this way is going to be the best way. So triangular first, fourth as your linear, and then the problem with taking this base here, we could put this as a fifth, although, yeah, I guess it would be the fifth. The problem with taking this base here is your fourth. Your fifth is your fourth on this particular map, is that it leaves this entire area exposed here, right here, which is very, very, very shit, I feel like, because you don't want to get cut off right here at any point in time. And I feel like if you take this base, it increases the likelihood of getting cut off. You'd have to have consistent vision here, here, here. And even then, because the map is so small, if he's right outside of your vision and just decides to stim down and you miss it, you're dead, right? It just go into your production and you die. So I think taking this as your fifth here, probably going to be the best course of action. Same on this other side. And then just trying to center tower, center tower, center tower, just defend that way. Well, you can see how the way the maps are really spread out and stuff like that, especially in TVT, it's going to be quite a messy thing. You're going to have people like trying to just yeet into your natural with ravens and stuff like that. So I would say for Waterfall, what you're looking at, maybe I can add some text here. What you're looking at builds. So build wise, I think in general, regardless of the matchup, you're kind of looking for stuff that's two base centered. So two base builds. I'm thinking 5 racks. So I'm thinking 5 barracks, 5 racks, 2 base versus Protoss. Sure, we can actually expand this. So I'm thinking, yeah, 5 racks, 2 base versus Protoss. I'm thinking, you could do 2 base. Actually, you could do versus Terran. You could do 3 racks, before third CC and TVT, and then against Zerg, you've probably seen a couple of those 2 base builds. I would also say the same thing: 3 to 5 racks, 2 base push and TVZ, and I would use something like Berlingrad. Sorry, there was a build that people were doing on Berlingrad. I saw Dream did it against Cyril. I can't remember which tournament it was in. I actually write that here as well. Dream versus Cyril. I don't remember the exact map or the exact tournament, but it was a 2 base push that Dream did on Berlingrad. I feel like something like that would be very nice. Especially have some nice tank spots here, and even here. Cut them off right here. So I would say that this is probably gonna be more or less what you'll see. So if you're playing this map, especially as a Terran player, EVT, I would look out for this kind of stuff. Some good old like quick standby on two bases and kind of just make sure you never take a base. And against the Protoss players, I think 5 racks could be good. I do think they're gonna play more two base centered. Sorry, they're gonna play two base centered into a third because taking the third very fast might be a bit difficult. So that's kind of my analysis here for this map. And we'll go ahead and about 5 minutes there, so we'll jump to the next one here, which is Tropical Sacrifice. So Tropical Sacrifice, I personally feel like is too bad for Terran. I actually think it's quite good in TVP. For TVZ, I'm actually not too sure yet. That's the matchup I actually haven't played too much in on this map. I'll be honest with you guys. For this, we'll do blue. Let's just test it. Yeah, blue's fine. Okay, so for this particular map, and actually let me move. Sorry, I didn't realize I was blocking. So I'm thinking we could take. Obviously, this is your first base, right? And actually, let me change the colors here. Oh, it seems like I have a thicker brush. Nice. So 1, and then 2. Oops, sorry. 1, and God, hello, Migs. 2, of course, is going to be there. And then for the third base, this one, I do think triangular is always going to be best as a Terran player. And if you're wondering why that is, actually, and we can talk about that real quickly. If you're wondering why that is, actually because if you take the linear third, especially against TVT and TVT, it's very easy for a Terran player to just doom drop you like this. And you can't defend this much space. It's actually very, very hard. You know, if you have to only defend this and this, it's a bit easier. But if you have to defend the whole thing right here, this whole cliff area, it's impossible if you take this as your third. So that's why most of the time you'll see triangular third for this reason. The other reason is because against mutas, it also helps a lot offensively because if the muta's bouncing between these bases, it's very difficult to defend. But you could use high ground marines from the main to defend the SCVs in the low ground mining here. And then you can also run these down here. So everything's a bit more compact and a bit easier to get in between everything and defend everything. So that's the reason why you'll see that triangular stuff. So I would say generally again, take something like this. Not to say that you can never take this as your third, but I do think generally speaking, triangular is going to be better. And then for fourth, I was taking this one as my fourth. And I felt like it worked out quite nicely. The fifth base was what became the problem, and I do think the fifth is a bit difficult because you can see you have this large open area here. And I feel like if your opponent breaks the rocks and punches in this way, this entire base is like sitting in a pocket that can just get jumped on. You know, but similarly here, you gotta be able to defend this kind of. Let me change this color. You have to defend this, right? But then you'd also run the risk of like being positioned here and then having your opponent just wrap around this way and then cut you off in between both bases. So it's very difficult actually. I feel like to decide on which one you prefer, which scenario you prefer. But now if we jump into like build stuff, that here. So build wise, and I'll actually move this a little bit. Oh, that's so weird. Okay, never mind. I can't move it because I've already drawn on it. So for build stuff, what I would consider doing on this map, delete that, is TV. So we'll start with the TVP because that's what we did in the last one as well. So in TVP, I like two base. Why is my font? Why is it so big? I've never had that problem. Two base. Oh, gee, actually. Get rid of these. We're gonna move this here. And we're gonna slap this right here. Look at us go. Okay. Excellent. Excellent work. Okay. So in TVP, what I think is gonna be best here are two base builds. Two base builds with tanks. This is mostly applicable. I don't even mostly applies against Robo. So the reason why I mentioned that in TVP, and this might also work in TVZ, is actually because I realized that putting the tanks here, here, even here is insanely strong. Basically, if Protoss takes this as their fourth or their third, what ends up happening is they try to position their units here to defend. But the tanks are actually within range of hitting the Colossus or any unit that comes this way. And these rocks here and stuff like that, obviously they'd have to break them. And you know, if you get here and they're not broken yet, it's perfect for you. And even if it's not, like you have this positioning here, you have this positioning here, this positioning here. So I feel like these tank builds are very good on this map. It's a bit reminiscent of the Glittering Ashes, and I actually think Beyond has a really good understanding of this. Positioning his tanks this way to be able to hit the units here. So I would do that in TVP. Now, obviously, you don't want to do that if your opponent is playing gateway style with a lot of zealots. So don't do that in that scenario. But otherwise, completely fine to do against Robo. The camera keeps flickering. Actually, I don't know what it's picking up. Oh, I think I know what it's picking up. Ah, never mind. You know what? I'm not gonna take it off. We're gonna grind out the video. I'll block it with my head. All right. And then next here we have TVZ. Now in TVZ, I actually think you can just play standard. I don't think there's not a lot of airspace, so I wouldn't want to play something with battle cruisers. So not too much airspace. Would not advise. Wouldn't do BC builds. Honestly, Banshees might be a bit difficult. I think you could still play Banshees, but perhaps not ideal. So Banshees may not be ideal. Or Liberators. And so basically, you know, what I would do instead is like play a Viking build. You could still play Liberator too. And actually I'll stretch that out of here. No, hello. Oh, I lost my thing. It's alright. It's alright, boys. As we were saying, so in TVZ, we're gonna do 2 base. Sorry, we're gonna do would not. Actually, would avoid. Hello. Avoid doing BC builds, Banshees. Can play Lib / Viking. Not too much airspace. And then I'll also put 2 base, tank push could work here. Similar to Waterfall that we talked about in the previous game or in the previous map. Could be good there. And in TVT, honestly, it's pretty straightforward. It's a regular map. I would say be very cautious of camping because I think because of the positionings here and the way the ramps are so close to the bases, I think it's actually pretty easy to camp. So I would just be careful of campers, especially mech players. I do think mech and TVT on this map could actually be pretty good. Could be good. Yeah, could be good in TVT. Or mech rather. And yeah, I think that pretty much it. This map honestly to me felt pretty good. I like being able to pace behind underneath all these cliffs and like monitor Protoss and stuff. So I do think it's pretty good for Terran. Alright, Stargazers. This is a fucking veto. Alright, don't fucking play this map. I'm telling you right now, this was entirely the consensus of every single player at Valencia. Okay, and I'll actually explain why. So I'm actually gonna put in big fat title in here. Veto this map, and we're gonna put it in red. This is a fucking veto. Okay, let me explain why. As a Terran player, you got some difficulties. The first and most notable one, and you would actually think that this is good for you. You would think looking at this map, and I'll use red. you would think about this map that this base is good for you, right? That's what you would think. A pocket base as a Terran player. You turtle this right here. You hold on to this. Could be good, right? I honestly am not a fan of this. I think if your opponent is kind of crazy, they can make it fucking terrible for you, especially a Protoss player or even a Terran player, to break out of it. Because you have to go down this tiny, tiny ramp to get a third. Same thing here. You want to leave here? Got to get a third, right? You got to go down a little tiny ramp, and if I literally just sit here with tanks or something like that, I'm gonna make your life hell. Okay, so that is something that already just automatically just turns me off entirely about this map. The other thing is actually that if you decide to not do that, if you decide to take this base here, right, this forward base, what ends up happening, especially in TvP, is a lot of blink builds, and they'll basically 4-gate blink into your pocket base, go into your main base, and this main is absolutely gigantic. All the maps have gigantic mains, and suddenly here, this base is impossible to defend perfectly. Look at if you build all your production within this barrier right here, they have this entire space and this area down here to escape. Completely actually terrible. So it's like I would not play this map for TvP, especially the TvZ. You run into the issue, and I had this issue as well, is let me remove this stuff. It's kind of similar. So Zerg, really what the nice thing about TvZ that your Terran players are looking for is a good place to just attack, right? The problem with this map is that because it's so big, there's so many pathways, right? I feel like it's a bit reminiscent of littering and what else, Pride or something like that. Like the map is just very big. Zerg players will take, let's say, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 5, and it's pretty easy 5 bases to defend. The other thing is if you're a Terran player, let's say you push this way, I think there's nothing that stops Zerg taking this base, right, and then taking this base, and then while you're holding this position to attack, there's so many pathways to just go around you. Literally so many. Like this. And it's gonna make it absolute hell, honestly. It's just you're gonna be a one-way and suddenly there's multiple counterattacks happening, and all these bases you obviously need. Right? So, and sure you can decide I'll rotate the other way, but if you do that, it's the same exact scenario. They pretty much you go this way, and then they just go this way. And it's honestly so hard, I think, to play on this map as a Terran. Not that I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's definitely not ideal. So basically, and obviously TvT is TvT, doesn't really matter on the map, I feel like. So, basically here, I'm not saying it's not unwinnable or not unwinnable, but I do think it's very difficult. And if you want to have a veto, I think this is one of the maps to veto, and I will leave it at that. So next here, we got Cosmic. Now this map, I did originally say it was a veto. I still think it is a veto, and I'll note that down as well. So we'll add that. Hey, where's my text? There you go. Most likely veto. There you go. So I do think this map is a veto because the color is not looking too great on here. I'm gonna change what about green? Oh, none of these colors pop off. Okay, fine. This is better. Alright. So I do think this map is a veto, and I'll explain why. So obviously big maps are not our favorite thing in the world, and that's fine. One issue that I felt like is this right here. The main, again, very big, and it's not the end of the world, but obviously it's a bit annoying TvP. Now the real issues start coming when you take your fourth. That's really the big problem here, as well as attacking. So again, as a Terran player, you want straightforward attack pass. On this particular map, what ends up happening is you got this base, let's say this base. Now you want to take your fourth, right? Very similar to Waterfall. If you take this as your fourth, all of this becomes very exposed. So you have to be able to defend all of this on top of this, on top of this. See that? If you take the other fourth, 3, 4. Now you take this fourth, you can establish your defense kind of like this. But then you have these rocks here. You have some cliffs you can play around here. Now the fourth base is a bit far away, which is why I was saying it's a bit like Waterfall. In the aspect that if you don't have any map vision on any of these sides down here, 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 it's very easy for somebody to just in any matchup. It's not specific to any matchup. Just blitz through one side where they feel like your defense is the weakest, and you suddenly have a higher concentration of tanks or anything here. So, and obviously this goes both ways. But this is obviously very annoying to deal with, and of course it's going to be more annoying. Playing against the Zerg, I feel like it becomes even more annoying in the aspect that there's so many different paths again. This, go around like this, and it's just like it's gonna be kind of hell. You're gonna have to try to defend this fourth, and suddenly Banes are gonna crash into this base, and then again, not saying it's not doable, but obviously it can be a lot more difficult to deal with. And then again, beyond just the positioning of the base and defending the bases, you have the issue of where to attack. Right, so it's like you kind of have to go around this way, go around this way, and kind of take these different paths. But same thing applies here. Counterattacks can happen because there's so many other attack paths it can take, and then you also got to figure out, if you're attacking here and you're holding this position, you can't spend too much time holding this position. You need to keep advancing, right? Obviously, or else you're gonna buy time for them to do counterattacks across the map. But then as you move in, it becomes more exposed. You get surrounded from here and from here on top of a counterattack. So, and of course, obviously, big maps where you can like take 5 bases very easily can be a bit difficult to play on. I do think one thing that's kind of cool about this map, and why I say it's most likely if is that it seems like it's gonna be a fight for this base here. If you play the game out very long. I think it's a fight for this base, and I kind of like the way that this becomes balanced. It looks very big, but there's actually not that many bases, and there's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases on each side, and then the last base being the goal down here, and I feel like that kind of makes it interesting. So I do think at the higher levels this map may not be terrible, but I do think that this map will become centered a lot around defending, getting this gold base, especially if you're somebody like Maru who's playing that ghost mech turtle camp style. Definitely going to be a battle for this gold base. So we'll get on to the next one here. Data C, depending on where you're from in the world. I personally have been enjoying this map, but I've heard some critiques from other Terrans who are a bit unsure about the map. From my understanding and from what I've been told, it has mostly to do with the attack path that people take. So, and the just like this. Oh, why would I use blue? Probably the worst color to use in this. Has to do with these different kind of like, I don't know, like little pathways and like ledges or cliffs that are kind of blocking out here. So obviously, if you're a Terran player and you attack here, you're asking to die. Get crushed by Link Bane on both sides and never leave. So, and then of course you could break the rocks. There's some rocks here, so you could alleviate it. But again, you break these rocks and you still have to march across and go this way, which again can still get surrounded. So it's a bit difficult. But if we just go back, sorry, I'm nagging. Back here. So we'll start with the bases again. I think expanding, same thing. Like this is perfect. And in fact, it's a very easy map to take 4 bases on. And you can obviously tell how easy it is to defend it. A small little choke here that you could probably wall off the command center. And then kind of wall like this here, something like that. And now you have easy defense on both sides of the bases. And that's why if you've watched any of the games from DreamHack Valencia, you'll see Mario has been playing some mech. And this is why. Because it's just very easy to defend these 4 locations. So if you're a mech fan, I do think this map is pretty good for that. In all the matchups, well, especially not TVT. I mean, not TVP, sorry, but TVT and TVC, I think it's pretty good, and I would definitely consider it playing mech. If you're bio guy, I think his bio is completely fine here as well. And I personally like that it's a bit kind of crazy with the pathing and stuff like that, because if you play a drop style, or if you like doing a lot of counterattacks with drops, or multi-pronging in general, I think it's a very nice map for it. But it kind of goes both ways. But at the very least, the defending the 4 bases is pretty easy. And I would even say taking a 5th is pretty easy too. Oh. Where you just have to defend like all these different paths, which is maybe a little bit more difficult, but definitely not undoable. So my conclusion here, this map's pretty good for Terran. Now, if we're talking about builds, and let me actually. We didn't talk about builds on Cosmic because that's definitely a video, or most definitely a video, unless you're crazy. Here, I think for builds, let me put this back to black text. Builds, I think TVT. Now, let's start with TVP first. TVP, I think we're looking at some pretty standard stuff. I think there's a lot of airspace back here, so something like Raven, Turret Harass, plus like Widowmine drop could be good. Into a 5-rex, into a +1, 645, 7-minute push. It's great. You got a nice back pass, especially right here, where it's all even. You don't have to go up a ramp like this. You got a lot of airspace back here to camp a mine drop, camp a Raven, and spam turrets across on the other side of the ramp, of the base, or the mineral line, sorry. And I think the main is not super big, but could be a little bit tricky with 4K blink. And I think tank pushes maybe if you position again kind of like down here or over here. But again, that definitely be something that's applicable against Robo if you're playing against Robo players. Oh, hello. Give it to you. Any build is fine. And we're indifferent here. And then TVZ, I also think the same. Except so any build is fine, but mech maybe I think mech is stronger on this map because of the quick force. So that's the reason why I think that that C is definitely a map that you can play on, and I think it reminds me a lot of 2K Atmospheres. Just a bit more crazy with the attack path, but I've had some fun games on it myself, and it didn't feel impossible at all. So we'll take it. All right, we got 2 more maps, boys. We're 30 minutes in. I have to cut up this video or something. Okay, we got inside and out. So I did play this map a few times as well, and I do think this is another Terran map for very similar reasons as to the last map. And if we talk about it again, which will sound like a broken record doing, but basically here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, super easy to defend every single base. Very, very, very easy. I do think this map is a bit smaller than Data C, so pushing across with bio, I think it's a bit more doable. For example, we could break down the rocks and just go down this way. But also counterattacks can happen on the other side. So it seems it feels very balanced. I think playing on this map, I never felt like anything in particular was very strong. I think again, you kind of run into the issue of like, which has been a big theme, is like the mains are very big. And I just think that makes it annoying playing against Blink Stalkers or Doom Drops or like, Prism warping in like 20 Zealots. Like I think if it gets in, it could be very difficult to deal with, but not unplayable, not undoable by any means. For this map, mech wise, I'm not too sure. I want to say you probably could, and I think you have some nice 5th base options. They're not terrible at all, especially if these rocks don't get broken. You can take this one as your 5th and position your tanks here. So not terrible at all. There's no particular build for me that stands out on this map. It actually feels very, very standard. And I do think that I personally like the layout of the map because I feel that you can actually move around quite a bit with your army. You can kind of take this path, this path. You can kind of posture around the map. So it feels like there's a lot of space, open space, and these random little pillars in the middle. And I think obviously as a Terran player, you want an open area. Well, not necessarily, but perhaps against Protoss and Terran is ideal. And I do think if you can find a way for your opponent to get screwed over by one of these pillars or things in the middle, I think it's actually pretty cool. But no, honestly, nothing really in particular stands out to me. I feel like there's nothing that is specifically terrible or to watch out for, or any particular build that stands out. Like, I feel like the ledges are not super great for tank pushes. Maybe these rocks you could abuse, but honestly, it's a bit of a stretch. Um, I think here this is actually nicely balanced as well. If playing against Zerg, you don't have to worry about that being broken too quickly. So I feel like this map is also pretty straightforward. Not anything particularly wrong with it, which I do enjoy. So and it gives me the same vibes as Data C. So I think I have another pretty good Terran map here. All right, last one, Moondance. This one has been interesting, very interesting. I do think it's not figured out yet. Some people are saying it's a veto, some people are saying it's not. Again, big theme here with the main base being absolutely gigantic, but the other thing here is actually the pocket base, which is very, very interesting. Originally, when I saw the map, I had thought that you could play some brick styles. You take quick their base, take the pocket base, and you kind of go ham. But I've actually seen some pretty interesting cheeses on this map involving the pocket base. I recently saw Trigger against Beyond, and he put Proxy Void Ray back here, and he's actually hitting the mineral line. So could be something for you guys to watch out for, my fellow Terran players. If you're seeing in one base activities from Protoss player, could be that. But likewise, I've also seen I saw Baby Marine do this. Is put a Proxy Factory in the back of this base here, and just like spam Hellions inside the bases from the back. So it's pretty funny. Like I think some proxy shenanigans back there are gonna be pretty good. And I'm trying to think. But no, back to my original point actually. With the bricking, is I do think bricking is pretty good. Um, and the reasons some people have said that perhaps not too great is because you have to go up these ramps, right? Which it reminds me a bit of Tropical Sacrifice. Except for this part is actually very open, and so even if I have tanks here and here, and actually let me declutter this. Even if I have tanks like here and here to abuse this, there's a certain point where I can't hit them anymore, and they're perfectly safe. So that's the thing. I think with Tropical Sacrifice, it's very hard to find the spot where the tanks couldn't hit you. But on this particular map, it doesn't feel like that's the case. And obviously going up a ramp to attack into a Protoss that already has a concave is definitely not ideal. And that goes both ways as well, right? As if you're a Terran player, as a player, it's like you go up this ramp and this guy has a concave. It's obviously not good for you at all. So, it does feel like it's a bit harder to abuse. And then of course, as you have the pocket base, so do your opponents. So it's also very possible that your opponents go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fairly easily, right? Now, what I did like about this map is that the fifth base is a bit far apart, so I feel like if I'm playing against a Protoss player, I felt like playing this map that if they took either base, I could kind of abuse it. So, if he takes this base here, then suddenly this entire area becomes available to attack, and he also has to defend this fifth in the corner. Similarly, though, if he takes this as his fifth, or a person takes this as their fifth, then then you can threaten both locations pretty easily, and there's a big distance between both of them to defend. So if, for example, you put 3 medevacs here and then push the main group here, it's something crazy that you could do, but it could work very nicely. And Tech Pass. I think Mech could be good on this map. I saw Mario play Mech on this map. I think. There was a game Mario played against Scarlet on this map in the late game. It looked very nice for him. Obviously, he's a late game GOAT. But this farther fifth is a bit worrisome. And again, this fifth here, if you take it, just being able to defend this entire location can be a bit difficult. If you want to talk builds and particular matchups, I think TVP and TVZ is going to be a little bit fun to play on and see how the pocket bases interact from both sides, right? Because you both have a pocket base. Again, I feel like TVT is just so indifferent. I think you're like, I don't think you're gonna see mech in particular, but I was gonna be playable no matter what. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like Waterfall was really the only map that I feel like it might have had an impact, a decent impact on TVT. And again, you have a lot of different attack paths. The rush distance is very short though. For those of you that don't know, natural to natural. So keep an eye out for early roach stuff or like adept gateway spam across the map early on. Because that could be pretty good. Because the distance is so short. So just keep that in mind against Zerg. And I think most Protoss players and most Zerg players are going to be taking this base as their third first, and then the pocket base next. But just again, keep an eye on that base. And I don't think any build in particular really is going to stand out in this map. But I guess I would consider, especially if you're a big Thermi fan, and this could work in TVP too. But we're using the pocket base for a quick third to brick opponent. And when I say brick, I mean 8 racks off 3 base, 8 racks 3 base, and just producing a lot of bios. So I feel like this is something that looks really interesting and could maybe be pretty good on this map. Again, because the distance from natural to natural is very short. So if you have 8 racks like this and the distance is very short, it makes it very easy to just be pushing across the map the whole time. But again, I personally haven't felt like anything stands out about this map at all. Besides the pocket base and then just the big main. So lots of big mains in this map, guys. I really respect that 4K blink. Keep an eye out on it. Because people don't use it that much these days, but it definitely, I feel like it's gonna make a bit of a comeback. And this is also my personal experience when playing customs on the maps and playing tournaments and stuff like that. But otherwise, I haven't noticed anything particularly broken on any of these maps. Beyond Stargazers, which is the map that I do think, and I stand by as being a bit unplayable for a Terran. So, unless you like the funky pocket base and you want to have some fun with it, by all means, go ahead, man. That's definitely the point of the game. But that's just it. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I know it's super long, so I'm gonna chop it up so you guys can tab through different parts of the video. And if you are a sub to my my Twitch channel, and you join my Discord, which I have the socials here and the links here, I will be posting a new map replay pack as soon as these new maps come out. So if you want to receive that, go ahead, join my Discord, sub to my channel, and you'll have a nice cheeky replay pack of some customs that I played on the new maps, and just different tournaments that I play on the new maps in there if you want to see what I've been doing on them. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Hope you're enjoying the new maps. Happy to see that my game is not dead ish. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.